Hello Year 11, welcome back. We've got a lot to go over today. We'll be going over ionic bonding and covalent. So what you need to know is you need to know all the atoms. You need to know the charges on all the ions. That's atoms, that's atomic atoms and molecular atoms as well, for both positive and negative. Now you just need to know these out your head. But luckily, all the atomic ions, all of them, which can be worked out from most of them can be worked out from what group they're in, your atomic ions. Now, the only ones that can't are your transition metals, and some other ones. So here are the exceptions here, which you would just need to remember. So I'll put a star over there as well. And your molecular ions, you will just need to remember for positive and negative molecular. Once you know these, the ones in bold are golden 5, which you learnt in year 9, then you will fly through the ionic naming and writing the chemical symbols of ionic compounds. So let's try that now with number 1, ammonium carbonate. So I would always say, when you're writing out a chemical formula for a compound, always write out the ions above it. So your ammonium, I would write out your ion above it, which is NH4 plus, sorry, that should be a small 4. NH4 plus, carbonate is CO3, 2 minus. Now you should know that out of your head. These are both ions, and in a compound, it needs to be neutral. So you need to balance these charges, or the ions both need to equal out. So your positives need to equal the number of negatives. So for your ammonium, you're going to need 2 ammoniums to balance your carbonate. So to do that, you will need to write NH, you're going to need times 2 of these, and you're just going to need 1 of these. So with your ammonium, you'll have to write out your molecular ion. Because you've got a multiple of it, you need to put it in brackets because you're multiplying the whole molecule. So you'll put a 2 on the outside there in small, and then you'll have your CO3 next to it. Now note, you don't put your charges, you don't include charges in the final chemical symbol. Okay, just only the ions. So here, ion 3, because we've got a Roman numeral in the name, that tells us that this is ion 3 plus. All metals give positive ions, so you know it's a positive, not a minus. And then nitrate, NO3 minus. Again here, you need to just remember that. Okay. So again, we need to balance out these ions. We've got 3 charge, 3 plus for your iron, and you've got a minus for your nitrate. You're going to need to times your nitrate by 3 for this compound to be neutral. So here you'll have Fe, there's no multiples, and then you'll have NO3, and you'll need 3 of those. So you're going to need to put this in brackets because it's a molecular ion, and put the 3 on the outside. Okay, you have iron nitrate there, that's the chemical symbol for it. Aluminium, Al3 plus, that's because it's in group 3, and then your oxide is O2 minus, that's because it's in group 6, and here you're going to have to look for a common multiple of 3 and 2, okay, to balance out, to get your neutral charge. So you're going to need 2 aluminiums, and you're going to need 3 oxygens. And then your formula is going to be Al2O3. You don't need any brackets here because they're both atomic ions. Here's some practice. Give it a go. I'd say take around 5 minutes on it if you need, or however long you want. Pause the video now. Okay, well done if you got those right. Again, it is easier if you do just put the charges above. That would just help you with balancing them out. Ag plus, Br minus, Br minus. That would help you, it really would. So I do recommend that method. Okay, dot and cross diagrams. With ionic bonding, you need to be comfortable and confident in drawing dot and cross diagrams. If you're not, I would say take it step by step. And the steps that you do are just drawing the electron configuration just for the outer electrons. So your aluminium, because it's in group 3, it's going to have 3 electrons in its outer shell. So I'm just going to draw the outer shell. Your oxygen, because it's in group 6, it's going to have 6 electrons in its outer shell. Okay, there we are. So now we can now use the same method that we used before, where we're looking at the ions. So aluminium forms Al3 plus ions and oxygen forms Al2 minus ions. So again, you're going to need times 2 aluminiums and times 3 oxygen. So this method times 1 by 2 and the other by 3 will come up in so many other different parts of chemistry, so balancing equations and a few other things as well. So your aluminium and oxygen, these are going to form your ions. Aluminium forms a 3 positive ion, and oxygen forms a, let's put those on, you've got 2 electrons, forms your 2 minus ions because it's gained 2 electrons. So you can now put here that times this by 2, then times this one by 3. You will get the mark for that in an exam. And that's your dot and cross diagram. Now I've put 2 examples on the bottom here for you. Aluminium oxide, you can write its chemical symbol at the side here, which is Al2O3. Al2O3. And then I've given you an exam paper question here, which we'll go through again. So in this question here, it says, describe as fully as you can what happens when magnesium reacts with iodine to make magnesium iodide. So you've got to describe this using these words, atom, electron, and ion in your answer. So you can start off, and in chemistry, you can use shortcuts unless it says otherwise. You can say magnesium atom, so using your keyword, I'm just going to underline the keyword, atom, loses 2 electrons. Let's actually write electrons. 2 electrons, and I've used 2 keywords here, to form Mg2 plus ion. There's another keyword there. Okay, so that's going to give you 2 marks there. And your next mark is to write the reverse. So what happens to the iodine? So you're going to say 2 iodine atoms gain 1 electron each to form 2 iodine ions. That's going to be your 4 marks there. Okay, now here's some practice at it. This question came up in your year 11 mock exam. Okay, so use this as some practice. So I do expect most of you to get this right and to find this quite easy. Okay, give yourself 3 minutes max, because this was 3 marks. You can pause the video now. Okay, well done if you've got that right. You'll get your 3 marks for 1 mark for the correct charges, that's plus and 3 minus. 1 mark for the correct number of electrons. So we've got 2 full outer shells, this is great. Be careful of lithium, because lithium's inner shell only has 2 electrons in it, not 8. So be careful of that. Or you can just leave it empty, to be fair, so that doesn't matter. And the correct multiples. Now lithium has ×3, so that's great. So that's your third mark, sorry.